The laughter started before Daniel even reached the mailroom door. Every morning for 3 years, the same people watched him walk through the glass lobby in his faded uniform, carrying envelopes, packages, and coffee cups, and they treated him like he was invisible. Some mocked his worn shoes. Others joked about his lunch packed in an old plastic container. Nobody knew that the quiet single father they had spent years humiliating was about to become the person whose signature would determine their future. Before we begin, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and never judging someone by their appearance, please like this video, leave a comment, share this story with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support helps us bring more stories about courage, compassion, and the unexpected ways life can change. Daniel Carter was 38 years old and raising his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, alone. 3 years earlier, after losing his wife to a sudden illness, Daniel had been left with a mountain of bills, a small apartment, and a child who still woke up some nights asking when her mother was coming home. Daniel had once been an ambitious business professional, but grief had destroyed his confidence. He needed a job quickly, and the only position he could find was in the mailroom of a powerful corporation called Sterling Heights Group. He accepted the job without complaint. Every morning, he woke before sunrise, prepared Lily's breakfast, packed her lunch, walked her to school, and then took 2 buses to work. His uniform was always clean, even though it was old. His shoes were polished even though the leather was cracked. Daniel believed that dignity wasn't something a person received from a job title. It was something a person carried inside. But the employees upstairs didn't see it that way. They called him Mailroom Mike, even though his name was Daniel. They laughed when he entered the executive floor. One young manager once deliberately dropped a stack of papers onto the floor and told Daniel to pick them up, even though there was a cleaning crew nearby. Daniel quietly collected every page. Another employee laughed at his lunch and said he probably couldn't afford anything better. Daniel smiled politely and returned to work. What they never noticed was that Daniel remembered everything. Not because he wanted revenge, but because he had spent years studying the company from the bottom. While delivering documents, he noticed which departments wasted money, which managers mistreated employees, and which projects were failing. During his lunch breaks, he read old business reports and financial statements available in discarded folders. At night, after Lily fell asleep, Daniel studied business strategy, leadership, and corporate finance on an old laptop. He wasn't dreaming of becoming rich. He was trying to become someone his daughter could be proud of. One winter morning, Lily became sick with a severe fever. Daniel couldn't afford to miss work because he was already struggling to keep up with rent and medical bills. He called his supervisor and asked for a few hours off. Instead of sympathy, he received a warning that another absence could cost him his job. Daniel hung up and sat beside Lily's bed, holding a cold cloth against her forehead. She looked at him through tired eyes and whispered that she was sorry he had to work so hard. Daniel smiled, kissed her forehead, and promised that everything would be okay. That night, after Lily fell asleep, Daniel opened his laptop and worked until nearly 3 in the morning. He had discovered a serious problem in one of Sterling Heights Group's logistics systems. The company was losing millions through inefficient shipping contracts, and Daniel had identified a solution that could save a fortune. He prepared a detailed report. But he didn't put his name on it. Instead, he quietly placed it in the suggestion box used by employees. 2 weeks later, senior executives announced that the company had discovered a major cost-saving opportunity. They praised a management consultant for the idea. Daniel stood in the back of the conference room, listening silently. The consultant had simply repeated Daniel's work. Nobody thanked him. Nobody even knew. Yet Daniel wasn't angry. He went home that evening and watched Lily draw pictures at the kitchen table. She proudly showed him a picture of the two of them holding hands beneath a bright yellow sun. Daniel realized something important. Recognition wasn't the reason he had done it. He wanted to solve problems. And he wanted Lily to learn that doing the right thing was valuable even when nobody applauded. 3 years passed. Then, one Monday morning, Sterling Heights Group's entire corporate headquarters went strangely quiet. Employees were told that the company had been acquired by a private investment firm. The new owner had decided to replace the current leadership team after years of declining performance. Everyone expected an experienced executive from another major corporation. At 10 o'clock, the employees gathered in the main conference hall. The chairman walked onto the stage and announced that the company had a new CEO. Daniel stood near the back, still wearing his mailroom uniform. Then the chairman said his name. For several seconds, nobody moved. Daniel calmly walked toward the stage. The same employees who had laughed at his shoes stared at him in disbelief. The manager who had once ordered him to pick up papers looked as if the floor had disappeared beneath him. Daniel wasn't a stranger to the company. He was the person they had refused to see. The chairman explained that Daniel had actually been the anonymous business consultant behind several strategies that had saved the company millions. Years earlier, Daniel had built a successful logistics company before tragedy forced him to leave the industry. The investment group had purchased his company, discovered his expertise, and eventually hired him to lead Sterling Heights Group. Daniel could have fired everyone who had mocked him. Instead, he did something unexpected. He announced that nobody would be punished for insulting him, but from that day forward, every employee would be judged by one thing: how they treated people who couldn't help their careers. He restored respect to the mailroom staff. He increased wages for lower-level workers. He created childcare assistance for single parents. He established an emergency fund for employees facing medical crises. And then he walked downstairs. The mailroom was exactly as he remembered it. He placed his old uniform in a box and kept his worn shoes beside it. When Lily visited the office that afternoon, Daniel showed her the mailroom. She looked at her father with wide eyes and asked if he really used to work there. Daniel smiled and told her that he had. Then Lily hugged him and said she was proud of him. Those words meant more to Daniel than the CEO title ever could. Because 3 years earlier, people had looked at a poor single father and decided he wasn't important. They were wrong. They had mistaken a position for a person. They had mistaken quietness for weakness. And they had mistaken kindness for surrender. Daniel never changed who he was. Life simply gave him a chance to show everyone who he had been all along. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who believes that kindness matters, and subscribe to Kindness Corner for more emotional stories that remind us never to judge someone by where they stand today. And before we end, I have one special request. Comment, "I will never judge by appearance," if you believe every person deserves dignity, respect, and a second chance. Because sometimes the person everyone ignores is the person carrying the greatest potential. Sometimes the quietest worker in the room is fighting battles nobody can see. And sometimes life doesn't need to change who you are, it simply needs to give you the right moment to reveal it. Daniel walked into the company as a forgotten mailroom employee. He walked out of the same room as its CEO. But the greatest victory wasn't becoming powerful. It was remaining kind when he finally had the power to become cruel.